Unveiling a centuries-old secret, a remarkable discovery has set the religious world abuzz. Scientists have uncovered a tomb that might be linked to the Virgin Mary herself, sparking excitement and debate among believers and skeptics alike. Could this be the revelation that finally resolves the mystery of Mary's final days? In the Catholic tradition, there's a belief known as the Assumption of Mary. This doctrine holds that at the end of her life, Mary was taken up into heaven, body and soul. However, Catholics have different views on how this occurred. Some believe Mary never died, while others think she died peacefully before being assumed into heaven. The Eastern Orthodox Church has a related but distinct belief called the Dormition of the Mother of God, which translates to falling asleep. According to this view, Mary did die a natural death. However, her soul was taken up by Christ immediately, and her body was resurrected and brought to heaven 3 days later. You might wonder what the Bible says about this. Surprisingly, the New Testament doesn't provide any details about Mary's death or assumption, leading to various interpretations and stories over time. One popular legend from around the 7th century involves the Apostle Thomas. According to this story, Thomas was absent when Mary died. When he arrived later, they opened her tomb and found it empty except for her clothes. Some versions even say that Mary dropped her belt from heaven as proof of her assumption. The belief in Mary's assumption spread throughout the Christian world, becoming an official feast in the Eastern Roman Empire around 600 AD. However, it wasn't until November 1st, 1950, that Pope Pius XII officially declared the Assumption of Mary a dogma of the Catholic Church, a belief all Catholics are expected to accept. Protestant views on Mary's Assumption vary significantly. Some Protestant groups that are closer to Catholicism might accept the idea of a bodily assumption, while most do not. The Anglican tradition is diverse, with some accepting the Assumption, others rejecting it, and some considering it less significant. Even within the Catholic Church, there are differing interpretations of Mary's Assumption. Some Catholics adhere to the mortalist view, believing she died before being assumed into heaven. Others support the immortalist view, which suggests she was taken up without dying. A third perspective, known as the resurrectionalist interpretation, holds that she died and was then assumed. These varying beliefs have led to different ways of observing Mary's Assumption or Dormition. The Catholic Church celebrates the Feast of the Assumption on August 15th. Eastern Orthodox and Eastern Catholic churches also commemorate the Dormition of the Mother of God on the same date, but with a 14-day fast leading up to it. In many countries, August 15th is recognized as a public holiday in honor of Mary's Assumption. Over 30 nations, including France, Italy, Spain, and many others across Europe, Africa, and South America, observe this day with church services and time spent with loved ones. Feel free to share your thoughts on this discovery. Does it strengthen your faith, or does it raise more questions? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing content. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video. Some places have unique traditions tied to the Feast of the Assumption. In Bulgaria, for instance, this celebration is the most significant event dedicated to the Virgin Mary in the Eastern Orthodox Church. People attend church services, offer special prayers and gifts, and in Varna they even hold a procession featuring a holy icon. What's truly remarkable about these varied beliefs and celebrations is how they reflect the deep reverence many Christians have for Mary. Despite differing interpretations, the core idea is to honor Mary's unique role in Christian history. So, how did these different beliefs about Mary's death and Assumption come about? The evolution of the Assumption doctrine. The doctrine of Mary's Assumption didn't appear overnight. It evolved over centuries, with origins dating back to the early days of Christianity. Our story starts in the 2nd or 3rd century with a text called the Liber Requiae Mariae, or the Book of Mary's Repose. This early account is among the first to mention Mary's Assumption, though it's not considered entirely reliable and its ideas differ from mainstream Christian beliefs today. For the first few centuries after Jesus' death, there was little written about how Mary's life ended. Bishop Epiphanius of Salamis in the 4th century sought information about Mary's death but found none. Different beliefs existed. Some thought she died peacefully, others believed she was martyred, and a few even suggested she never died at all. As time progressed, more stories about Mary's Assumption began circulating. By the 5th century, writings like De Orbitu Domini and De Transitu Virginis introduced the idea that Mary was taken up to heaven. Though these texts aren't fully trusted, they played a key role in shaping early beliefs. By the 6th century, the belief in Mary's Assumption was growing. Around 600 AD, Byzantine Emperor Maurice officially established it as a holiday in the Eastern Roman Empire, marking a major milestone in the development of the doctrine. The belief spread to the Western Church in the 7th century, initially celebrated as the Dormition, or falling asleep of Mary. Over time, it evolved into the Assumption in some religious calendars. In the 8th century, John of Damascus, a notable theologian, wrote that Mary died in the presence of the apostles. When they later opened her tomb, it was found empty, leading them to believe her body had been taken to heaven. During the Middle Ages, the doctrine gained further prominence. In the 9th century, Pope Leo IV elevated the feast day's status by adding special observances like a vigil and an octave. Later, Pope Nicholas I placed the Assumption on par with Christmas and Easter. In the 12th century, visions and mystical experiences also influenced this doctrine. German nun Elizabeth of Schonau had visions of Mary and Jesus that significantly impacted Western belief in Mary's Assumption. Moving to the 18th century, Pope Benedict XIV declared that believing in Mary's Assumption was a reasonable stance, even suggesting that disbelief could be seen as disrespectful to God. This papal statement reinforced the doctrine's place in Catholic theology. The 20th century brought a fascinating twist. On May 1, 1950, Jules Bianchi, who claimed to have seen visions of the Virgin Mary, delivered a message to Pope Pius XII. Bianchi said Mary wanted him to share the message with the Pope, who had been praying for confirmation of the Assumption doctrine. He saw Bianchi's message as a sign. Just 6 months later, on November 1, 1950, Pope Pius XII made a historic declaration. He proclaimed the Assumption of Mary as a dogma of the Catholic Church, requiring all Catholics to accept it as true. This declaration, known as Munificentissimus Deus, stated that the Immaculate Mother of God, the ever-Virgin Mary, having completed the course of her earthly life, was assumed body and soul into heavenly glory. This proclamation was a significant moment in Catholic history, being only the second time a pope had used papal infallibility to define a doctrine, the first being in 1854 with the Immaculate Conception. The timing of this declaration, just 5 years after World War II, is notable. Some scholars suggest that affirming Mary's bodily assumption may have been a way to honor the dignity of the human body amidst the aftermath of war. Since its official declaration, the doctrine of the Assumption has remained a vital part of Catholic belief and practice. Every August 15th, Catholics worldwide celebrate the Feast of the Assumption, a day so important that it's a public holiday in over 30 countries. To put this into perspective, in Malta, where Mary is the patron saint, nearly 360,000 people, or about 85% of the population, celebrate this feast day. In Poland, over 30 million people, around 80% of the population, observe the Assumption of Mary. As we consider this long journey from early Christian writings to official church dogma, a new question arises: how has modern science interacted with these ancient beliefs? Scientific investigation of Jesus's tomb. The tomb of Jesus Christ, located in Jerusalem's Church of the Holy Sepulchre, has long been a site of reverence and intrigue. However, in October 2016, a groundbreaking event occurred. A team of scientists gained unprecedented access to peek beneath the marble slab that had covered the tomb for centuries, opening up a new chapter in the study of one of Christianity's most sacred sites. Led by Professor Antonia Moropoulou from the National Technical University of Athens, the project was initially focused on restoring the edicule, the small structure that houses Jesus' tomb. They soon discovered their work would lead to one of the most significant archaeological finds in recent years. As the team carefully removed the marble slab, they were surprised to find an older grey marble slab underneath, dating back to the Crusader period of the 12th century. But the revelations didn't stop there. Digging further, they uncovered the original limestone burial bed where, according to Christian tradition, Jesus' body was laid after his crucifixion. The excavation showed that the burial bed was much larger than anticipated, measuring 1.8 meters long. It was carved out of the wall of a limestone cave, aligning perfectly with historical accounts of Jesus' burial. The team also found a cross engraved on the limestone, likely left by 12th century Crusaders. The team employed advanced scientific techniques to study the tomb, including dating the mortar samples found between the original limestone and the marble slab. The results indicated that the tomb had been sealed around 345 AD, plus or minus 17 years, which closely matches historical accounts of the tomb's discovery and monumentalization under Roman Emperor Constantine in 326 AD. They didn't stop there. The team used ground-penetrating radar, thermal imaging and laser scanning to create detailed 3D models of the tomb and its surroundings. These methods allowed for a thorough study of the site's structure and composition without causing any damage. One intriguing find came from the ground-penetrating radar, which revealed another floor beneath the current one, about 1.2 meters deeper. This suggests the current structure was built on top of an earlier one, possibly from the time of Constantine. The restoration work also revealed evidence of previous damage and repairs to the tomb. Traces of fire damage were found, likely from the many times the church has been destroyed and rebuilt over the centuries. Ancient graffiti, including crosses and other symbols left by pilgrims, was also discovered on the tomb's walls. As expected, no physical remains of Jesus were found. According to Christian belief, Jesus rose from the dead 3 days after his crucifixion, and the empty tomb is seen as evidence of this resurrection. The scientific examination of the tomb has had a profound impact on both religious and academic communities. For many Christians, it provides a tangible connection to the origins of their faith. For historians and archaeologists, it offers valuable insights into the development of Christian holy sites and medieval pilgrimage practices. The $4 million restoration project, completed in March 2017, involved cleaning and reinforcing the edicule, installing a new ventilation system to control humidity, and adding a window that allows visitors to view the original rock of the tomb. Since the restoration, visitor numbers to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre have surged. In 2019, before the COVID-19 pandemic, the site welcomed over 2 million visitors. Even during the pandemic, virtual tours of the restored tomb attracted hundreds of thousands of online visitors. The examination has also spurred renewed interest in other archaeological sites related to early Christianity, leading to increased funding for excavations like those at Magdala, the hometown of Mary Magdalene, where an ancient synagogue was discovered in 2009. So, if scientific investigation can reveal so much about Jesus' tomb, what might it uncover about other significant religious sites? Possible locations of Mary's tomb. The story of Mary, mother of Jesus, continues beyond her son's crucifixion. Her later life and final resting place have been the subject of much debate and speculation over the centuries. Various locations around the world claim to be the site of Mary's tomb or the place where she spent her final days. One of the most widely accepted sites is in the Kidron Valley near Jerusalem. Known as the Tomb of the Virgin Mary, this site is at the foot of the Mount of Olives, close to the Garden of Gethsemane and the Church of All Nations. The church built over this tomb dates back to the 5th century. Visitors must descend a long staircase of 48 steps to reach the tomb, which is a small chamber carved out of the bedrock. This site is revered not only by Christians but also by Muslims, who also hold Mary in high regard. Interestingly, when the tomb was opened in 1972 during renovations, it was found to be completely empty. Some see this as supporting the belief in Mary's bodily assumption into heaven. Another significant claim is in Ephesus, Turkey. According to tradition, Mary lived there with the Apostle John after Jesus' death, based on Jesus' words from the cross, entrusting his mother to John's care. Exploring Mary's tomb, the mystery of her final resting place in Ephesus, Turkey, there's a site known as Meriam Ana Evi, or Mary's House, a small stone structure perched on Mount Keresos. Discovered in the 19th century, this site's origins are tied to the visions of a German nun, Anne Catherine Emmerich, who had never been to the area. Despite its unconventional origins, archaeological evidence suggests that the foundations of this house date back to the 1st century AD. Every year on August 15th, thousands of pilgrims, both Christian and Muslim, gather at this site to commemorate Mary's assumption into heaven. The Turkish government has even issued postage stamps featuring Mary's house, highlighting its cultural and historical significance. But the story doesn't end there. In Turkmenistan, there's a belief that Mary's tomb is located in the ancient city of Merv. This tradition stems from Nestorian Christianity, an early branch of the faith that spread eastward along the Silk Road. According to the legend, Mary traveled with the Apostle Thomas to India, passing through Merv. Some versions of the story claim she died there, while others suggest that a relic of her, often described as a belt or girdle, was left behind. Although there's no archaeological evidence to support this claim, the belief has persisted in local folklore. The site associated with Mary and Merv is now part of a mosque complex, illustrating how religious traditions can blend and evolve over time. Further east in Pakistan, the town of Murree is home to a shrine called Mai Marida Asthan, which some believe to be Mary's final resting place. This tradition is particularly interesting because it integrates elements of Christian, Muslim, and Hindu beliefs. According to local legend, Mary came to the region with Jesus and lived there for many years. The shrine is a modest structure compared to the grand churches dedicated to Mary elsewhere, yet it attracts pilgrims from various faiths who come seeking blessings and healing. How did these various locations become associated with Mary? The answer lies in the spread of Christianity in its early centuries and the way religious traditions often blend with local cultures. As Christianity expanded across the Roman Empire and beyond, it often incorporated elements of local traditions, a process known as syncretism. This helped make the new faith more accessible to different cultures. At the same time, the desire to connect with the origins of the faith led to the creation of legends and traditions surrounding early Christian figures, including Mary. So how do scholars approach these claims about Mary's final days and burial place? They use a mix of historical research, archaeological investigation, and critical analysis of religious texts and traditions. One approach is to examine the earliest written sources. The New Testament doesn't provide details about Mary's later life or death. The first written accounts of her Assumption or Dormition appear in apocryphal texts from the 3rd and 4th centuries, such as the 6 books Dormition Apocryphon and the Palm of the Tree of Life. These early texts focus on miraculous aspects of the story rather than specifying a location for Mary's death or Assumption. Archaeological evidence is also crucial. At sites like the Tomb of the Virgin Mary in Jerusalem and Mary's house in Ephesus, archaeologists have uncovered structures from the early centuries of Christianity. While this doesn't confirm these as Mary's actual resting places, it shows they've been revered as such for a long time. Historical context is another important factor. For example, the claim that Mary went to Ephesus with John is supported by the fact that John is known to have spent time in that city. Ephesus was also the site of a major early church council in 431 AD, which declared Mary to be the Mother of God. Despite all this research, there's no conclusive evidence pinpointing any of these sites as Mary's actual tomb or final home. Historically, we simply don't have enough reliable information about Mary's later life to make a definitive judgment. However, for many believers, the historical accuracy of these sites is less important than their spiritual significance. These places offer a focal point for devotion and reflection on Mary's role in their faith. Each site has developed its own unique traditions and practices. For instance, at the tomb of the Virgin Mary in Jerusalem, Eastern Orthodox Christians observe the Feast of the Dormition with an all-night vigil. In Ephesus, both Christians and Muslims tie pieces of cloth to nearby trees, believing this will bring blessings or healing. This diversity of traditions reflects Mary's unique position as a revered figure across different faiths and cultures. In Christianity, she is honored as the mother of Jesus and a model of faith and obedience, while in Islam, she is respected as the mother of the Prophet Jesus and is the only woman mentioned by name in the Quran. This widespread veneration of Mary has also led to interfaith initiatives. For example, the House of Mary in Ephesus has become a place where Christians and Muslims come together in shared reverence. In 2006, Pope Benedict XVI visited the site and prayed alongside Muslim leaders, symbolizing interfaith harmony. These sites remind us of the complex ways religious traditions evolve and spread over time. The story of Mary, carried across continents and centuries, has taken on new meanings and associations in different cultures. Each claimed location for her tomb or final days tells us something not only about Mary, but also about the people who have kept her memory alive. Ultimately, the most important aspect of these sites may be their ability to inspire and unite people across different faiths and cultures. What do you think about these discoveries? Do they strengthen your faith or raise more questions? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content. Stay curious and we'll see you in the next video.